But I've always been the type of brother that likes to give credit where credit is due. And earlier I heard a brother, he said something that confirmed kind of where my thoughts have always been. And he said that, I'm gonna paraphrase, but he was basically saying that he recalls a time when he was in heavy pursuit of the vagina. He was in heavy pursuit of the box. And as he reflects on that time he was in the heavy pursuit of the box, he basically says that all those things, that pursuit and the outcome of it, of him having baby mothers, that the pursuit was because of the stress. Stress led him to pursue the box like he was pursuing it, in which ultimately led to him having multiple baby mothers. And it resonated with me, and I had to agree with that, because I always thought, throughout my life, why do people have certain vices that are detrimental to them, right? And what he was explaining is basically it was a coping mechanism for him to deal with the stress by seeking pleasure, the dopamine pleasure that we get from sexual gratification. And that resonated with me, but I wanted to add something else to it, and why, in particular, this seems to be a problem that is particular to men, not so much women. You do have women that, have a lot of sex and with multiple partners, individuals, but more in particular, they don't really, it's usually an anomaly when you see a woman pursuing sex like with this strong hunger that men pursue it with. It's usually something else behind that, like maybe some abuse, some type of things that happened to her, maybe in her earlier years, in her formative years. But so that's usually an anomaly when it with women, but more so we see it with us men, and why some of us may do things in terms of sex that are reckless, and we know when we do it and we done with it, we think to ourselves, man, you don't feel, man, I shouldn't have did that. Now, I'm not talking about nothing illegal, so let's get that straight. But maybe it was with an individual that you've been like, man, I shouldn't have. Why would I do? When you think about it, you have regrets. Like, say, if you did it with, someone that maybe, is whatever it is beneath your standards. Maybe if you feel like, hey, I'm a guy, I'm in shape, and I work out and I work out heavily, and I got attention from women, but I find myself from attractive women, but I found myself with an obese woman, right? And oftentimes when you look at that situation, and it's a guy that, by the outer appearance of this particular guy, he doesn't need to do things like that. He doesn't need to chase reckless sexual activities and proclivities. He doesn't need to do that by all accounts, because let's say he's tall, he's not a bad looking guy, he's in shape, he may even have a situation. I'll let you think about what I mean when I say a situation. But yet he might find himself pursuing, like the brother was talking about, reckless escapades. And what is really behind that? The thing is, you gotta really analyze what is behind that. Now, he said stress. He mentioned stress. But I'm going to add to that too, especially if you are a black male here in the confines of the United States of America, the concept, I'm going to add to that stress part unfulfillment. Because it is a reality. If you are a dominant, alpha, heterosexual black male, there are forces that are against you that may make it, doesn't make it as easier for you to get ahead as it might be. And when I say get ahead, I mean economically, socially, as easier to get ahead for you as it may for other groups of males. And this being dominated economically, politically, in the corporate world by the white male, oftentimes it's just a reality when you see a black male in a high position in the corporate world. Oftentimes he is emasculated, and oftentimes he may even be in the LGBTQ community. Very rarely do you see a strong, dominant alpha male. Just look what they just did to this brother, the actor, Jonathan Majors. Look what's happening to him. From what I understand, he's never been emasculated in his roles. I don't think he's ever put on a dress. And we see the results. You can say, oh, that, it's because of what this society has a way of breaking those strong alpha males that don't choose to buck. So adding to that stress is the unfulfillment of working hard, doing everything by the books, doing everything you felt like you needed to do to get ahead, playing by the rules, and still, you're not where you want to be. You're not where you feel you should be because you put in the work to be. You burned the midnight oil. You studied, or you did whatever you got to do, whether you got educated, got your degrees, or got some type of trade or whatever. And now, yet and still, you don't feel fulfilled, or you don't feel as if where you are where you should be. So getting back to the subject matter, you couple it with the stress and couple it with the unfulfillment, it would cause you seeking a coping mechanism in the form of reckless sex escapades. And why? Because you get that temporary release, whether it's 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. The average ejaculation is just a few seconds, but before that, you get that temporary release and novelty in the newness of the individual. And it really, and other males, they seek other avenues, but we're just focusing on the sexual part, part, because that's what I saw the brother talking about in the video earlier. Let me adjust that. I'm sorry about that. That's what I saw him talking about. We're talking about the sexual aspect of it. So he talks, yeah. So as I said, other individuals may use alcohol, they may use marijuana, they may use other different drugs to escape. But he was saying that he was using the sex as he said, as a way, because of the stress he was dealing with, but it was really also too the coping, the temporary escape. Even though he may have had a woman, but at home, but the excitement, the thrill, the novelty of chasing other women, getting other box, is what helped them cope and deal with that stress. And that just explains why you may see certain situations that transpires, because when you really look deep down at the core of it, it's an individual that is using that to deal to escape momentarily from the stress, the lack of fulfillment, the lack of feeling that you are not where you want or you should have been in life. And it's really something that, is not often discussed, but it has to be discussed, and it has to be understood. And these individuals that may participate in that should not be looked down upon, but understand, hey, what can be done to transmute that, as it was talked about in the Think and Go Rich by Napoleon Hill. He talked about the transmutation of sexual energy, using that. You have to really work on that. It comes with it doesn't happen overnight. Learning how to transmute that energy, that's strong. It's like the strongest urge in human beings outside of hunger. It's right next to hunger. You got hunger, and then you got the sexual urge. And so learning how to transmute that energy, as it was talked about in that book, Think and Go Rich, that's going to take, it's not going to happen overnight, and it's going to probably take many years before you get to that point. Before you get to that point, because you're going to have a lot of bumps along the road. You're going to fall off, and then you're going to pull yourself back up, and then you're probably going to fall off again. And until, with each time, you get stronger with it. With each time you have a setback, you dust yourself off, and then you keep going. It's a process. It's a process. But that's basically why you would see that incident occur in terms of sexuality. So with that being said, hope you liked the video. Like, share, and subscribe. Holla at y'all later. Peace.